Today we're going to be looking at these Columbia Gorge Stoneworks. They're a diamond resin bonded stone. Columbia Gorge Stoneworks.us is their website. So this is a set of 6 stones that I got here. This is the 160 micron. So it's going to be most coarse. It's going to be the roughest. So this, if you need to rebevel something, that's the one you're going to want to use. Or if you're working on some chips, this is the 80 micron. The diamonds are half the size of the diamonds that are in the 160 micron. So these are 80 micron diamonds. So this is a 20 micron. I have a 40 micron right over here, which would be the next one. It'd be half the size of the 80. So I got the 40, which would be the next one in line, and then here's the 20 micron, which is half the size of the 40. So you feel it gets finer as you go. Very smooth grit. That's a 10 micron. And then this is the 5 micron, which is extremely smooth like glass. So far they're my favorite new whetstones. Super excited to be checking them out. I got a hold of Columbia Gorge Stoneworks. I let them know we were doing a sharpening channel, and I let them know we were interested in reviewing some of their products. I spoke with David Scott over there. He's the owner and the designer of these stones, and also the matrix stones, which are a 1x6 stone that's very similar to these stones. So if you ever use the matrix stones, then you know what these are about. One way to keep these clean is just rinsing them under water, and then take your fingers, because you'll get a little bit of they'll start to discolor a little bit, which they still work fine when they're discolored, but they darken up a little bit as you're using them. So take some water, rub it on there, or you could use a paper towel with alcohol. That works. A Gorge stone, take a little bit of water, you can flatten it that way, keep them looking new that way. Okay, let's take a closer look at these Columbia Gorge Stoneworks diamond resin bonded whetstones. So this is the 40 micron. I've already used this one. I did wash it with a little bit of water, but you can see how it's starting to get a little bit of a buildup on it. It still works fine when it has that, and you can get most of that off different ways. Washing it with water, using a napkin with some alcohol. Also using this Niagara stone, you can rub it on there. That'll clean it up as well. That's the 40 micron. Here's the 5 micron. As you can see, smooth as glass. Here's the 10 micron. It's very smooth too. So these are both finished stones. They make a 5 micron, a 10 micron, a 20 micron, a 40 micron, an 80 micron, and a 160 micron. We already looked at the 40. This one's got, you can see that it's getting a little more of a rougher texture to it. This one is the first one that I can feel a little bit of grittiness to it. The other two are probably more for finishing, and this one would be for sharpening if your knife is already fairly sharp, just to tune it up a little bit. The 20 would go actually right there. So on the 20, it's in between the 40 and the 10. It's halfway in between the two. This one's still pretty smooth, but it does have some roughness to it. So there's the 40. Actually, I'm going to flip these over so you can see the grit. There's the 20. 10. These are all micron sizes, not grit. And then 5 micron. A lot of people will say that something is 1 grit rating, so it's not always accurate from one brand to another brand. So by going with microns, you know exactly what size of abrasive that you're getting on these Whetstones. This one here is the 80, so we're definitely getting more aggressive here. I can feel the diamond resin texture is getting rougher. This one will definitely be for sharpening. So the 160 we got here, this is for, it would be for if you have a chipped blade, or if you're going to reprofile something to get the most speed out of it, you'd want to use this one. So these stones are super nice because you can use them multiple different ways. They got this little notch cut in right there, and what you can do with that is, if you have the heavier duty guided sharpeners, then your system will grab a hold of this stone. It's 6 inches long, 2 inches wide, so it works excellent on the heavier duty guided sharpening systems. I've already tried it. It works great, grabs right onto there. It works nice. You can also hold this in your hand, and you can take a knife, grab a little bit of water, make sure you keep these wet when you're using them, and so you can use it for freehanding as a whetstone. It's a diamond resin mix. So I'm just showing you right here that you can hold this. It's a perfect size hand stone for sharpening your knives. It's got a very nice smooth texture to it. So far I'm loving these stones. They're my favorite stones, favorite Whetstones. Columbia Gorge Stoneworks.us. You guys got to get yourself some of these. Okay, we're just taking a rag and wiping that down after using it. And if you take care of it right away, you can get rid of most of that darkness. But if you need to, wash it off, and then if you need to, use your Niagara stone or use your tile to reflatten. So another way that we can do this is we have this little, it's a Whetstone holder right here, and so we could take our stone to hold this 2" by 6" stone. So now instead of holding it in my hand, I have it on I have a system right here holding it steady. So just go nice and slow, nice and steady. Make sure you're following the same angle that it was sharpened at. There's 6 stones if you get the whole set. It's the 5, 10, 20, 40, 80, and the 160. I recommend getting the whole set because each one is half the size of the next one in line. So that's what you want in your grip progression. The weight of these is 9.5 ounces for the whole thing, which is pretty light. They measure 0.537 inches thick, and then they're 1.975 inches wide, so almost 2 inches. You're right there. The length of them is 6 inches. So they're perfect sized for hand sharpening or putting on a little platform like this. The backs of them are 0.475 inches thick, so it's got a pretty thick back to it. They also make, in this same design, you can get a 1" by 4" stone. Columbia Gorge Stoneworks.us, in all these same micron grits, but it'd be 1 inch wide by 4 inches long. So it'd be perfect for like a KME style sharpener or whatever, for like a pocket sharpener. These are the 2" by 6". They also make a 2" wide, which is the same as this, by an 8" So if you want a longer stone, if you need longer passes, then you're going to want to go with the 2" by 8". And then they make a 3 by 8", which is like a standard sized whetstone, the big kind you would have on your bench or your table. So if you want these in a big stone, go with the 3" by 8" size. Here's the 20 aluminum oxide. That's the one for the 160 micron, which is the most aggressive stone here. So obviously it's the biggest stones in there. The very fine one goes with your fine whetstones. So make sure you order up some of these dressing stones whenever you get your set, or if you order individual stones, just make sure you order these as well, so that you can keep everything flat. So far we're loving these things. They're very nice, very good quality, made in the USA. These things are made right here in Lyle, Washington in the Pacific Northwest. Make sure you guys order you some of these. Very nice diamond resin bonded whetstones. I'm super happy with them. Yeah, David Scott, he's out of Lyle, Washington. He helped design some of the stuff for over at Edge Pro. I believe he designed the matrix stones, which are very similar to these Columbia Gorge Stoneworks stones. I think the product is, the ingredients are very similar. So make sure you log on to Columbia Gorge Stoneworks website. Check it out. Make sure you log on to their YouTube page and give it a like and subscribe. So with these knife sharpening stones, they combine the sharp cutting action of diamond with a very wear resistant bond. They don't cut as fast as plate diamonds. See, so you just need a tiny bit of the abrasive. You use your whole tile so you keep it flat. Okay, now we're going to wipe it with a towel and see if we got rid of all the residue. As we can see, there's still a tiny bit showing, but there's no reason to go any further. That's a little bit of darkness to it isn't going to hurt anything. It won't change the way it cuts. So the way these are designed is you can use them and they'll get dirty, they'll discolor a little bit, and then you just keep using it. And then once it feels like it's glazed over and it's not cutting no more, then maybe flatten it. Okay, so we put our knife in a guided sharpener. This is a Gerber fixed blade. So we're going to take our Sharpie and mark our edge. So by marking the edge like this with a Sharpie, we'll be able to tell where we're grinding. We'll flip the knife around and do the other side. Again, we'll take our Sharpie and we're going to mark our bevel so that we can tell where we're grinding. See that little V that I got cut in there? Kind of hard to tell. That'll help it stay on the blade if you kind of cut a little V into it. Okay, so we're marked up. We're going to be testing out these Columbia Gorge Stoneworks whetstones. We're going to see how nice they cut. So far I'm loving them. So we put our 2" by 6" diamond resin whetstone on our stone holder. Now we want to make sure to keep these wet. We're going to make one pass to see if we're at the right angle or not. So I can see that I need to come up just a little bit. So I'm gonna use the micro adjuster. We'll raise it up just a little bit. I want to make another pass. Up a little more. That looks like about the right angle right there. I raised it up just a hair. Now I'm going to make a few more passes. We'll see how well that it's matching. This is the 80 micron. There's a 160 micron, which is going to be a little bit more aggressive than this one. This is going to be the second most aggressive stone. So what happens always when you're sharpening a knife is you'll have one angle that you have back here in this portion of the knife, and then when you get out towards the tip, it was sharpened at a little bit of a different angle. And so anytime you're using a guided sharpener, the tip is usually going to need more work. Okay, we're going to flip it around. Make sure to keep this stone wet. These are the diamond resin bonded stones from Gorge Stoneworks. So this is really a smooth fill right here, so we're just polishing our edge now. You no longer feel that real gritty sandpaper fill. Just nice and smooth. Fill a little bit right there. So I'm going to work my way up to the tip, but on my way back I'm going to spend a little bit of time right there. Right here. Until it needs a little bit of work here. So we'll just work back and forth across here a couple times. Trying to remove burr. It's our very last stone. Probably the best stone set I've ever used. Multiple different ways you can use it. I add a little bit of water. Okay, flip it back around. Okay, grab a piece of paper, let's see if it'll cut. Okay, so it's nice and sharp. Do some test on the best tester to see what kind of numbers that we're coming out with. Thank you to Sharpening Supplies for this best tester. I go down nice and slow for an accurate number. 110. So that's from those Columbia Gorge Stoneworks Whetstones. Got it super dang sharp, and all I had to do was strop it a few times to roll that burr off. Once the burr came off, 110, we can see right there we're setting super sharp. So I 100% back those Columbia Gorge Stoneworks Whetstones. They work amazing. That number is super low. If you want to see what the edge is looking like after the Columbia Gorge Stoneworks Whetstones, and then the other side, it's really shining up.